and welcome to the Technology Geek podcast. My name is Brandon Lapani, the Technology Geek, and we are here as we are every week to talk computers, internet, ham, radio, and pretty much anything geek pretty much that we talk about here on the Technology Geek podcast. This is our 39th podcast, 39 podcasts already. They go by mighty quick. So first I want to say, as always, you can find out all our podcasts on our website, thetechnologygeek.org, as well as rate us on iTunes. You can find us on TuneIn, all that stuff. iHeartRadio. You can find us pretty much anywhere. I want to apologize last week. The audio quality, we're dealing with a new mic and a new mixing board here that we had purchased for the show. And we had some audio problems last week, but I want to thank you. Some people brought it to my attention. I'm very sorry about that. So this week I'm going to go ahead and try to pull off the audio a little better than what it was last week. So bear with me. I do apologize. The audio was a little shaky last week. We're going to go ahead and we think we got that fixed this week. So a lot going on, as always, in tech, obviously. First off, before we talk about any of the news or any of our weekly discussions, a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, obviously, I want to wish everybody a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. I am here in the Pocono area, and we are just getting unbelievably hammered with snow this week. I mean, you would not believe. I mean, I've been outside the shovel probably about 4 or 5 times now. I grew up in the Pennsylvania area, so I'm fairly used to it. But we are getting hammered up here with snow. We have probably maybe 10 to 15 inches before it's all said and done. We'll be traveling up to my wife's house. Her family over the holidays. So, like I said, it's going to make for some pretty tough travel in the morning. So we're going to be leaving a little later. But like I said, I want to wish everybody a safe Thanksgiving. I feel bad for those of you that are probably stuck in airports right now and things of that nature. Unfortunately, it's very tough. Anytime you have bad inclement weather around the holidays, it's a really tough thing. So I want to wish everybody, like I said, a very good holiday and a safe holiday. Some other things as well. I want to also bring everybody's attention to the website, technologygeek.org. If you notice, as well as on our iTunes feed and all that, you're going to notice as well a new logo. My wife, actually, who does photography and stuff, amateur photography and stuff like that for a living, she actually went ahead and put a new logo together for us at the Technology Geek. She actually did it. I think it came out quite nicely. I kind of gave her kind of what I wanted, and she went and did the rest. So, but yeah, we do have a more professional-looking logo. For about a year or so, we've been talking about getting a professional logo done, and my wife actually sat down over the weekend and did it for us. So you can see we have a nice new, better professional-looking logo. So we're really, really happy about that. And I want to thank her very, very much for actually taking the time to actually go ahead and, really put that new logo together for us so that we have a much better, much more professional look. So I want to thank my wife for that, obviously. Some other things as well. Like I said, we have changed the format a little bit of the show, as most of you have noticed. We're not going to be doing all the sponsors at the very beginning, only because it takes me a while to actually go through and get the sponsors all out, and it seems like it takes forever. We're actually going to be doing it just a little different, where we're actually not going to be doing all the sponsors at once. We will do them over the course of the show. So we get into things a little bit quicker, as well as you notice as well that we actually went ahead and updated the website. If you go to the website right now, you see the website, it's technologygeek.org. It's a little different than what it was before, but I really think overall it's a really nice look, and it really focuses more on the podcast. So very, very happy about that. Like it says on the website, if you go there, and I'll show you last week's episode and then this current episode, what we're going to talk about. We're talking about Soul Republic headphones. I actually have a pair of these myself. I actually went and purchased a pair of them for about $100. And let me tell you, they are phenomenal headphones. They definitely are worth the money, let me tell you. They're a little different than, I know a lot of people that always, Beats, and I think Beats are a good headphone, but, we're actually, like I said, we, I don't know, I personally like the Soul Republic. For those of you that don't know, it's called SOL, Soul Headphones, because Soul stands for Soundtrack of Your Life, SOL. So it's actually made by CEO Kevin Lee and his son of the Monster Cable founder Noah Lee. And if you remember, I don't know if you guys know, but they were actually involved with the Beats headphones that Dr. Dre, they were actually involved in the project. So that's kind of neat to actually see these guys actually break away from Dr. Dre and actually go ahead and get their own thing. It's pretty cool. So I have actually, like I said, do have a pair of them. I actually really like them. I find they're light, fairly comfortable. They're more durable, I think. They're more of a sport design. They're interchangeable, by the way. They have different headbands, attachable earphones. There are a lot of different things you have. And then, by the way, too, you can just like iPhone, earbuds. You can actually go ahead and you can actually. What you can actually do is you can actually answer the phone and talk into it and up and lower the volume and all that right from the little control that's on the ends of the headphones, just like you can your earbuds for your iPhone. So that's kind of neat. Like I said, they're I found that they sound good. They're affordable. They're not as I don't find I've actually used a set of Beats to compare to, and I can tell you I think the Beats are a little more bass heavy. Being an audiophile like myself, I find the Beats a little more bass heavy, which that's very possible. It could be bass heavy only because they are developed for Dr. Dre and a lot of the rap guys, which a lot of their music is very beat heavy. Not really my kind of music, but I definitely they're aimed towards more of a target market. And the other thing too, as well, Beats is more of a. I want to say I could definitely say this. Beats are a lot more stylish. They're a lot more of a fashion trend than I think the Soul ones are. The Soul ones are very interchangeable, and there's a lot of things you can do with Soul Republic headphones. You can change. You can have a different band and a different headphone. They are completely customizable. One thing I do notice is that Dr. Dre's, they are a little more stylish. They are a lot more of a fashion trend than the Beats are. Nothing wrong with that, but, that's just the way they are. This one thing about Soul's headphones, and they've said this, by the way, in their mission statement on their website, is that they're hoping to change, a line of headphones, and they want to deliver a very good sound and durability at a more affordable price. Now, the one thing I have to say is, having dealt with Dr. Dre headphones and stuff like that, and the Beats headphones, I call them Dr. Dre headphones, by the way, because I think it's cool. One thing I have noticed is I do find that the Soul Republic ones, I actually have them right here in my office, right here. And one thing I noticed with them is they are a lot more durable than I think personally than the Dr. Dre ones. I think in my opinion, if I was Soul, and I'm not sure exactly what their plans are. I don't have any insider information or anything. I only know from what I've read on the website and heard from a couple of people. But what it seems like they're really trying to aim towards a more affordable market. If it was me on the other end of this side of the of the spectrum, if I was running the business, I would really aim these more towards the sports. The sport watches, kind of like how you have with the different handheld, the different phone manufacturers. They make the different casings of that. How certain ones are aimed more towards sport. Some are aimed more towards style. I would say I would aim this more towards the sport style, or more towards the the people that are wearing the Fitbits and things like that. And if that was me, I would actually team up with some of the guys over at Fitbit or over at Jawbone and see if I can get them to bundle my headphones with this. That would just be me. That's what I would do. But I'm not saying it's right or wrong. But judging from the way they're made, they're a lot more durable. I could see myself being on a jet ski or something with these on. So that's what I would do if it was me anyway. But again, I don't own the company. Like I said, I'm a big audiophile and stuff. And the other thing too, if I were them, some of the things that I would do. It's just my opinion anyway. I'm not saying, like I said, it's right or wrong, or that I don't have any insider information or anything in this company. But what I would do if I were them is I would definitely partner with Spotify. Spotify completely changing the music industry. Phenomenal company, wonderful audio quality. All that. If I was them, I'd definitely try to partner with a Spotify to compete with a Beats or Beats service or anything like that, or even Google with their music service, or Amazon, one of those, because they are affordable and they are aimed at the more affordable style of market. So, the Wall Street Journal had an article on them the other day, They have a new line. Their new line consists of flavors of amps in-ear headphones, and then flavors of tracks on earphones. Those are the ones that the in-ear, obviously, and the over-the-ear, obviously, they're self-explanatory. But like I said, they swappable headbands, swappable speakers. They actually have cables. Actually, I didn't know this, but you can actually get the cables in various colors and designs as well. So you can have red earphones with a blue strap and an orange wire. That's pretty neat. By the way, there's also too, they boast a new polymer design called the Flex Tech, which the company says makes the headphones virtually indestructible. And that's what I was saying, folks. Like I said, I could picture myself, being on a jet ski with these headphones on because they are just that durable. Kevin Lean, like I said, a former Beats, associate executive who started the company in 2011. The company is positioning itself as a high-quality, fashionable, like Beats. Now, I agree that they are fashionable and stuff like that. I do totally agree with that, but I don't think that. I'm not gonna lie. I think they're cool, and I love my Soul Republic headphones, but I'm not gonna lie. Beats, I think, are a little more fashionable. That's just me. Now, everybody has their own fashion style, but that's just me. But they are completely customizable, so. If you get like 7 or 8 different colors, you can probably get something that goes with everything. But like I said, but their affordable models line up a Soul Republic Jax line in earphones. They start as cheap as $39.99. I have the over-the-ear set. That's just what I like. Like I said, when you compare these to Beats or Dr. Dre, your Beats line headphones cost about $100. So you're looking at $39, almost $40 compared to $100. So. The in-stereo headphone market in the U.S. alone reached $2.3 billion in 2013. That's actually a really neat statistic. I don't even know how they would really. I don't know how you really go ahead and. I don't know how they measure that. I'd like to find out that. With sales of premium headphones, which actually these Souls are considered premium, by the way. They are considered a premium headphone. Despite being more affordable, they are considered premium. And I think they are. The quality of them is phenomenal. Which costs, like I said, $100 or more. That represented about $1 billion. So you figure $1 billion between Soul, Beats, and all the other high-end headphones. So, and that's throwing in, obviously other brands like Bose, Sony, Skullcandy, JVC, all those kind of guys. According to some research, Beats is the #1 brand in the United States. Guys, I can honestly tell you, I agree with that 110%. There's no doubt about it. They are the #1 dog in the fight. One thing Dr. Dre did was he definitely knew how to build a brand, so there's no doubt about it. They are the #1. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And as I said, they're followed by everybody else. But kind of neat though. What I did do reading up on this company, they had over 100 full-time employees and 12 different product offerings, and they have sales about 20,000. They're selling in about 20,000 storefronts in 56 countries. And that includes the big places, by the way, Best Buy. What's kind of neat? And I actually found this out, and I didn't find this in any research. I actually found this just because I was in the mall the other day walking. Everybody's getting ready for Christmas this time. Everybody's rushing around for the early Black Friday sales. That's how I got this microphone I'm using. But one of the things, too, folks, is that I was actually in the Apple Store, and actually does sell Soul Republic headphones as well. And like I said, they make in-ear, over-the-ear ones. And actually, what I did find is they're actually looking to get into the wireless speaker market as well. And, it's kind of neat, like I said, especially now that they're being sold at Apple stores. I think that's a big move for them. Obviously, Beats is sold there as well. But, I think really that the company is really on the right direction as far as, their quality and their affordability standpoint, which, the one thing about the Soul Republic headphones, I got a little bit digging into it, and they actually are one of the companies that actually do make their speakers using rubber, which is actually really, really good. And they use good magnets in here and all that type of stuff. So the quality is definitely there for the price. How they keep their price point down, I don't know. But like I said, it actually is quite quality made. Company actually is based out of Wilsonville, Oregon, in San Francisco. So they are an American-based company, which is really nice. I like that. Trying to keep everything in America. Like I said, judging from these, they're metal. I don't know how you break them, but like I said, they're actually their niche market, from what I'm reading here in the Wall Street Journal, 18 to 25 who love music. I'm one of those people. I'm on Spotify at 320, the highest possible audio quality I can get. And when you do listen to them through the headphones, you can definitely hear the quality. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, beats are more bass heavy, where soul. Apparently, what they're saying here in this in the other article I found here on Mashable, they focus more on They're basically focusing more on natural and live sound, and they're aiming their design to work best with rock and pop music style, where beats really focuses more towards that rap, hip hop style of music. So, definitely, I would definitely say for $100, they're a great Christmas present. They're going to be on sale Black Friday at Best Buy. If you're in the Best Buy store, take the time, buy a set. The person that's receiving them won't regret it. You won't regret it. It definitely is worth the money. You can find them at Target, which is where I believe, I think it was actually where I got these. But you can find them all retailers like that. So definitely worth the money. So speaking of money and speaking of things, on Black Friday sales and things for Christmas, let's talk about our buddies over at Mangrate. Superior grilling system over at Mangrate. Those things are great. We barbecue all summer long, and those things were great. Put them on the grill, cook your steaks on it. It's just a superior grilling system, man-made. They're made by hand here in the U.S. Really a wonderful company. And those guys, let me tell you, their customer service down there is just phenomenal. Those guys over at Mangrate. And like I said, they have you get a discount with our coupon code TechGeek, 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 and you use our coupon code, and this way we get the credit for it as well, and you get yourself a discount on your first purchase. Again, that's TechGeek for our coupon code. And like I said, folks, we use these over the summer. I actually bought a set of them. They didn't give them to me. I actually bought them because they're solid. They're really nice. The steaks came out amazing with them. You can use with burgers, anything like that. Easy cleanup and all that. They really is really great. So that's our buddies over at Mangrate, mangrate.com. And we're glad to have them as a sponsor on the Technology Geek podcast. And as now we obviously do every week, we talk about the technology news of the week. And it's always a little bit of a slower week when it comes to talking about tech, especially on a holiday week. But we do have some interesting news this week. First of all, Google to launch Times Square's largest interactive billboard. You heard me right. I'll say it again. Interactive billboard. Something that was kind of neat. I read that on the news this week. Apparently, Google, what they're planning on doing is they're going to get like I said, electronic billboard, and it's going to be pixel dimensions going to be 2,368 by 10,048. It's actually a 4K display, and it's going to have about 15 million pixels. So that's kind of neat. And it's going to be located on 1535 and Broadway between 45th and 46th Street, about a half a mile from Google's New York headquarters. And they say the billboard's going to measure about 77 feet by 329 feet. It's the largest billboard on Broadway ever, by the way. And so that was what they're going to do. It's going to feature interactive Android game that the public can play until, they're saying it's going to be until Tuesday, which is this Tuesday, as well as an opportunity to get their custom Androidify character created on site, made into a t-shirt and postcards and all that. So that's kind of a neat thing that Google is doing. So if you're in Times Square, go ahead and see the interactive billboard because it does sound pretty cool. So some other stuff that was on the news as well, talking about security. As everybody knows, there's always a lot of traveling going on, especially this time of year. Thanksgiving is one of the biggest travel days of the year, as well as Christmas. But people are hacking electronic transport tickets to score free rides. There's apparently over in Sydney a group dedicated using hackers on a new transport card system to save themselves $20 a week. And it began in South Wales. And basically, they're not talking about how it's being done, but apparently they are actually going ahead and saving themselves about $20 a week by actually hacking the card. So that was kind of a neat thing that I read on the internet this week. So Netflix going to actually scoop up that new show by Tina Fey and Unbreakable by Kimmy Schmidt. That was actually something that was kind of in the news this week, as we all know. Netflix getting into original programming right now. That's their big thing, but they're looking to actually go ahead and they're going to pick it up. And like I said, right now it was supposed to run on NBC, but NBC's drama-heavy mid-season schedule, got in the way. So, but it looks like Netflix is now going to be picking that up. And like I said, Netflix is very big into original programming, and Tina Fey obviously brings quite the power of a name to their show. So I'm sure they're definitely excited about bringing her on board. A lot of people, if you don't know, she's actually big on Saturday Night Live. She was in a lot of big time comedy dramas and stuff like that. So definitely, like I said, she definitely brings a lot of value to Netflix by going in there. So something else that was kind of neat. We don't use it here, but live stream. And now you can actually now broadcast your GoPro right through live stream from your iOS device. So that was something that I mean, GoPro is just an amazing company, and they've been building and building and building. But this was kind of neat, where you could actually go ahead and, like I said, you can live stream your iOS. You can use live stream on your iOS app now to broadcast your GoPro. And so what live stream updated its iOS app, so now you can use the GoPro camera as a broadcast source. New feature works with GoPro cameras that feature built-in Wi-Fi. So from the live stream app, you connect your GoPro Wi-Fi network and stream right from the camera using your phone's 4G. Now I can only imagine at a 1080p, this is going to really chew up quite a bit of your data plan. But again, some of these things you do at your GoPro is once in a lifetime thing. So, the CEO of Livestream said the company had received hundreds of requests to add GoPro capability to the app. So they did. That was actually reported by CNET. And Livestream saying extreme sports athlete Chris McDonald helped with the company test out the app while jumping in Switzerland. So that was kind of neat to see them get an endorsement from him. So this new app that I was reading about on Mashable the other day, WeMail, makes email more like instant messaging, and kind of something I was laughing about with a good friend of mine the other day. We said, we were talking about instant messaging, and I said, remember when we were kids, and how big instant messaging was just. I remember the instant messaging war with who's using AIM, who's using MSN, all that. Now I mean that's not even a thing anymore. Nobody. I mean, people still use AIM and people still use MSN and stuff like that. But I remember when I was younger how big of a thing that was. That who was using AIM, who was using ICQ and all that. Well, now apparently WeMail is actually going to have a new app, and it's going to actually make email like instant messaging. I mean, the number of startups that are doing this, but they're not the only ones, but they just happen to get the mainstream attention this week. WeMail, a new mail app available only on Android for now, so those of me that are using iPhone can't use it. Feels like just another name to add to that list. What we noticed is that email today was no different than email 10 years ago. And like I said, trying to make an interview earlier this month, statement the founder said that because there's pretty much never been a change in email, they're looking to actually change it with their email app. What makes WeMail stand out from a bunch of others, however, is that organizations email by categories. WeMail organize messages by people. So instead of organizing mail like by categories like Google does, they actually do it by person. And the standard reverse chronological order, bundle it together by sender. So, like I said, it is pretty much. I mean, I don't think this is really anything new and innovative. Google obviously does their whole thing with, conversations and all that type of stuff as well. So I don't know if this is really innovative or not, but it definitely was in the news this week. So I figured we'd cover it. Interesting news as well in The Guardian this week, talking about how e-cigarettes can actually give you malware. E-cigarettes may be better for you health-wise than normal, but it could be bad for your computer. Electronic cigarettes have become the latest victim of malicious software, according to online reports. Many e-cigarettes can be charged via USB. Might be USB port plugged into a wall socket or something, but if it means that your e-cigarette is going to be plugged into your computer, it could be reported malware. Reddit suggests that at least one Viper has suffered the downside of trusting their e-cigarette manufacturer. One particular executive had a malware infection on his computer from a source apparently that came. The company that made the Chinese e-cigarette had malware hard-coded into the charger when plugged into the computer. USB port malware phoned home and infected the system. If you remember, we had something like this, remember, with the iPhone chargers, remember, for a while back as well. And security consultant from Trend Micro said that the story is entirely plausible. Production line malware has been around for a few years, infecting photo frames, MP3 players, and such like that. And if you remember as well, we also did have a problem, like I said, with the iPhone chargers a few years ago. So if you're e-cigarette, you may be healthier, but you may be making your computer sick with the virus. So just be aware of that. It seems like a lot of the Chinese stuff really seems to either have viruses, or it seems like they're really into card stealing or malware, ransomware or anything. It just seems to be the thing that just keeps to be coming out of China lately. Not stereotyping or anything like that, just making a statement that it just happens to be what's coming out of hackers that seem to be coming out of China. Seems like they want to do. You're constantly seeing things in the news about Chinese people stealing stealing credit cards and numbers and stuff like that. Carding is a big thing with them, and malware is apparently too over there. Again, not stereotyping, not saying everybody's like that. Just an observation from doing this tech stuff for quite a while. So on InfoWars, if those of you, by the way, that I don't really like the way mainstream news handles their reporting. If you're like me, you can go Infowars.com, a great website by Alex Jones. Some of it gets a little out there, but for the most part, he covers the news that pretty much gets buried on the mainstream news. It actually is a really good site. Drudge Report is up there as well as far as news. I don't read a lot of mainstream news, but those are the two sites I go to for mainstream news. So. But apparently, a gentleman that owns Virgin Mobile, he said that he's going to be definitely doing space tours, the outer space tours. Amazon's big into this as well, by the way, folks. But they're actually Virgin Galactica CEO George Whiteside said that there's much to be done, and that they are looking by 2015 to resume tests of actually doing space tours. By the way, folks, this space tour thing it's a big thing right now. Lots going on with it. But for those of you that, you guys remember when, right around the time that Titanic came out, if you remember, this is going back probably the 90s, but James Cameron was big into taking tours underseas. And I remember reading on the internet that it would take, I believe it was taking hours to get down to the bottom of the Atlantic, I believe it was the Atlantic or wherever the Titanic is located. But I remember he was big into this, taking people down for underwater tours and things of that nature. So right now, space is a big thing, but in the 90s, the big thing was going down underwater. So, and believe it or not, there are people like Ashton Kutcher that have already reserved their seat on this for 2015, 2016. As Jeff Bezos he already bought his own, I think he bought his own ship and stuff like that, spaceship and stuff to go up. So, this is a really, really big thing right now, really popular with the CEOs and stuff, and I'm sure it's only going to get bigger as it goes. Some other news as well that I also picked up as well on InfoWars is actually about Kim.com. Now, a lot of you guys know Kim.com. He's been the center of a lot of media over the last couple of years for his Mega upload, and obviously now Mega, he's obviously really getting hit pretty hard with that as well right now. But the U.S. government is trying, they're saying they're trying to get his hands on his assets and his fellow defendants through civil lawsuits and things of that nature. He started Mega, which Mega was a really cool site, but then, people started using it for the wrong things, and it got taken down for copyright infringement and things of that nature. And that was Mega Upload. And then he started Mega, which is going to be a secure way to share your files secure chat, secure phone calls, all that type of stuff. And apparently, he's right now fighting his extradition. I'm not saying, I don't really have a really. I know what he was trying to do was really innovative with security and privacy and stuff like that. And I really think he went about it the wrong way, which is the reason why he's the center of a lot of controversy. But I really think his ideas at the time were relatively really innovative, and I think, like I said, the way he went about it, I don't think was maybe the most professional way he could have done it, but he is facing extradition. I really think his technology is really ahead of its time, but it was just implemented in the wrong way. So, but he's fighting extradition right now. Him and his other friends are fighting extradition, and he's been struggling with it for a while now. And apparently now they're using, they're trying to seize his assets. They're trying to extradite him. They have proof that they've been wiretapping him and things of that nature. He actually has had raided. He has some of his stuff taken and stuff. So, he's definitely fighting it right now. Like I said, I think probably the way he maybe went about it was the wrong way, but his technology and the stuff he's came up with is definitely ahead of his time. And unfortunately, I think sometimes when you're ahead of the curve, you're going to eat, a lot of guff, and you're going to take a lot of slack and stuff like that. I've said this many times that Facebook was around 10 years ago. It would never be as big as it is today. It's just the way that things have changed over the years. Like I said, Kim.com obviously around, Mega Upload obviously involved in a lot of controversy. I don't have all the facts in front of me right now, but I do remember what I read on the news. And, obviously the Mega came out, and a lot of things really ahead of its time, but unfortunately, he got involved with the wrong people, and things kind of really went the wrong way with him. So, but like I said, it's the way his technology that it did come up with was really ahead of its time. And the same thing, by the way, with Pirate Bay. Pirate Bay, those guys really went about it the wrong way. But when you actually look at the BitTorrent technology that they came up with, it's used now as a major way to distribute Linux distros and things of that nature. So, used correctly, it's a very powerful tool. Used in the wrong way, it's a very dangerous thing too. So I was reading Slashdot, and kind of a neat article I stumbled across here. Apparently, bidding in the government auction for airwaves reaches $34 billion. So the government is auctioning off airwaves used in the mobile broadcast, has blown through pre-sale estimates, becoming the biggest auction in FCC history. And the signaling at the wireless, expert demands, and there's obviously a lot of demands for that. If you remember a couple years ago, the white space that Google bought up and stuff, they haven't used it yet, but they purchased it. And obviously smartphones get bigger and bigger. This space is only going to be getting bigger and bigger, and that's why the airwaves are so valuable. Up to $34 billion as of Friday afternoon for 6 blocks of airwaves, including 65 megahertz. Is being sold by the FCC and told more than 3 times what it was thought to be, which is about $10.5 billion. So this is really going up tremendously. I think it's going to keep going up, by the way. So Apple in the news again, and this was up on Slashdot. Judge approves $450 million settlement for Apple's ebook price fixing. This has been going on for a long time. I'm glad to see this finally brought into bed for Apple, because they've been really going back and forth with this. Technology guy enough to pay $450 million, but $400 million in that will go to roughly 23 million customers. They'll get a little bit of some money back and stuff. But this has been something they've been struggling. They've been struggling with this for a while. This has been going back and forth, and finally they put it to rest finally. So Apple, I'm sure, very glad about that. A lot of these settlements and stuff like that, the only people that really make money are the lawyers, unfortunately. So, some other news as well, which I don't know how to really... I don't know. I think that BlackBerry is just trying anything to stay relevant, but apparently now they will pay you to dump your iPhone for a passport. And apparently with the holiday coming up, it looks like if you trade in your iPhone 6 for a BlackBerry passport, the company will basically pay you $50. Starting December 1st, BlackBerry will pay customers up to $400 to trade in their iPhones, including 4S, 5, 5C, 5S, and 6 models. On top of that, BlackBerry will give you an additional $150 or $200 Canadian dollars. Additional, BlackBerry is offering $100 off the purchase of a BlackBerry $5.99. Passport. By the way, the markdown doesn't apply to passports in other colors. With the discount and maximum trade-in value of the iPhone, you get $50 along with your BlackBerry Passport. In addition, BlackBerry Z30 goes for $250, and BlackBerry introduced the Passport in September, sporting a square display, 3.6 inches. So BlackBerry will pay you if you want to trade in your iPhone. I don't know if I would actually do that, but it's available there for those of you that feel the need to. So something else that was really hit the news hard this week, Sony data, obviously Sony's picture breach, obviously really more, it's not really, it's a hack, but it's more really of ransomware. And now it's coming out that possibly it could have been an inside job. I do know that Sony has said that their email server could be down from 3 days to 3 weeks. Reddit user claiming that an ex-Sony employee allegedly helped them with the hack. There's a lot going on with this right now. Not a lot of information available, except knowing, like I said, that Sony is really looking into this. Like I said, they're believing that it could be an inside job. Like I said, it's a massive data breach in Sony Pictures, and like I said, they're at the mercy of the hacker. They're going to share, I guess, top secret information with the public. I'm going to guess that's a lot of people. I mean, speculation on what they get. They haven't even said what it is. It could be one of their the productions they're working on or something like that. So, if you remember as well, a while back, the Expendables 3 was out on Blu-ray before it even hit the theaters on the BitTorrent. So this is something that especially these companies are going to really be trying to avoid is picture leaks. And like I said, I think this is only the start of things. I think you're going to see as time progresses, people really, a lot of this ransom stuff really going on, especially with the picture industry as they try to fight against piracy. I think you're going to see more of this come up. So Microsoft, as they are continuing to try to forge ahead with their company and try to keep relevant and trying to really be innovative with Google and a lot of other things, they have really taken the Office 365 to another level. And I really truly believe that Microsoft, especially under their new CEO leadership, has really turned things around, and I really think that they are truly a competitor for Google and Apple and stuff. Now, I really do believe that with their new focus with the cloud and the way they're taking things, I really think that they're staying relevant and they are staying to be a fairly large player in the industry. But apparently now you can actually edit your Office documents from within Dropbox. So that was something that was in the news today, and that's actually pretty innovative. Dropbox, cloud storage company, obviously updated its iOS app today, and Android app, by the way, and the apps on Tuesday with the new Microsoft Office support that allows users to open documents, spreadsheets, and presentations stored in their Dropbox accounts and edit them with Office apps. So that was in the news this week, and that really is, that's actually a pretty major announcement, especially for Dropbox. Dropbox really has to do something because they're competing with their Office. They're competing with Office. They're SkyDrive, excuse me. They're competing with Google Drive. They're competing with all. They're cloud storage. They're not. They don't make Office. You know what I mean? So this is actually a pretty major announcement for them. So. And it's actually a pretty big major thing for Microsoft as well, because Dropbox is a pretty big cloud provider. So something else that Google is doing is Google is going to enhance your mobile search results for an easier holiday shopping. Happy holidays, they wrote today in a blog post. Google updated its search engine on Sunday to include fancier functions for smartphones and tablets and make your Christmas shopping easier. Well, isn't that nice of them? Obviously, Black Friday is actually day after tomorrow, and users atop Google's interface, you don't have to use Google Shopping. The details will pop up on a regular search, and you also have the option to use 3D 360 rotation tool to view products. So that's really neat. According to Google, half of all people between the ages of 25 and 34 shop on their smartphone and do online shopping. I think that's all these big box stores really are. Does anybody go to big box stores anymore? I don't even know. I don't really. They tell you a funny story the other day, talking about big box stores and showrooms. And we talked about this several times on the show, but I was actually in Home Depot where my wife and I were actually buying a new dishwasher, and I asked the guy, I said, I got my pickup truck outside, can I go ahead and take that home? And he said, no, we're just a showroom. It gets delivered right to your house. We don't keep anything in the store anymore. So, all these big stores are becoming showrooms. Best Buy is basically a showroom for Amazon. Even surprisingly enough, this shocked me. My wife used to work at Sleepy's, and what was shocking is that, Sleepy's actually will give you a better buy if you go on the internet. And what would actually happen was that people would come in, try the beds in the store, then go home and order it because they got a better price. So that was kind of neat, because then the reason why they do that is because you're cutting out the salesperson's commission. But that was kind of neat. But what they do find now is what's happening is things are going a little bit the opposite way. Guitar Center, specifically, what they're doing now is they're upping the prices on their website to force people to go into the store. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of a reverse thing going on with the big box stores now. It's kind of a neat thing. We'll see how it goes. But that was actually in the news this week. Kind of neat that you can view things in 3D. See everybody right now, obviously, Cyber Monday, and obviously, Amazon Lightning deals, all that stuff is big this time of year. Google settles a case with bank over 3,600 instances of online abuse. That was in the news. I'm not going to get into that. It's a lot of legal jargon, but that was in the news since we were talking about Google. So on Slashdot, I actually noticed a neat article, which I don't want to say it was buried, but wasn't mainstream. Former HP CEO Carl Florian considering a U.S. presidential run. That was in the news this week. He's looking to run for president possibly in 2016. He possibly could be a Republican candidate. We'll see what happens with that. I'd vote for him just because he was a CEO of a major company and I like him. But I think right this time of year we don't know who's running for president. There's so much speculation surrounding that right now. We won't really know until we get later on into 2015 who's going to be running for president. Sony offering, by the way, for those of you that have Sony, Sony offering hundreds of thousands of people who bought the handheld gaming console PlayStation Vita partial refund. Sony, because of questionable claims in the advertising, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, said Tuesday it had to reach a settlement with Sony, a U.S.-based company, for PlayStation business over advertising claims that the government contended were misleading. So looks like you'll be eligible for either a $25 cash or credit refund or a $50 merchandise voucher from Sony. So that was in the news this week. So if you are, you may be entitled to that. So you might want to look up the internet and just see what money's better in your pocket than it's Sony's. So, however, Sony might need the money though. With all this stuff going on with all their ransomware, they might need it now. You never know. So Mozilla will soon be offering one-click buttons for search engines. This is kind of in addition to the article we talked about last week, where they're actually going to have a default search. Their default search provider now is actually going to be Yahoo. So this was in addition to that this week. Like I said, I'm not going to go really into it, but today they unveiled some new search features coming to Firefox. Company says a new additions are coming soon to a Firefox near you was a joke, but you don't get a more specific timeline when it's going to be. Like I said, it comes, right after. This is basically on the heels of their last thing where they said they were going to be, using Yahoo now. And I got to tell you, I don't know how I feel about that, but like I said, but the release is currently in beta right now. But in the future, when you type a search term in the Firefox search box, you will get a list of reorganized search suggestions from the default search provider. Better yet, the new array of buttons below these suggestions will let you pick which search engine you want to search the query to. So I think this is going to be if I was Yahoo, I'd be a little upset about that because you're a default search provider, but you can use other things like Google and Bing. So it's kind of a, I don't know how I feel about that. If I was Yahoo, I'd be a little upset about it. But by the way, folks, too, last piece of news, which I saved for last because I thought it was kind of neat, and apparently Google Chrome will block any NP API from Chrome. NP, by the way, that stands for Netscape Plugin Application Programming Interface. Basically, they said it's for security, speed, and stability. And it was first announced, by the way, that they were planning to drop this, by the way, in 2013, but they finally just got around to it now. So they use for about 5% of people that use Chrome. Not sure if it's going to really affect that many people, but it looks like it's going to be before the end of 2014. So, I mean, that is going to be next month. I mean, it's only another month left, and we're in the new year already. New year already. Can't believe it. So, by the way, folks, as always, we always take your questions and all that on this show. But before we go ahead and do that, obviously we want to give another shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsor over at ProXPN. Anytime, folks, you're using any type of the VPN solution, you should always go ahead and you should always, if you're going to be doing anything, credit card information, buying online, a lot of that going on this time of year. Everybody's buying stuff online. You should definitely be using a VPN. And our friends over at proxpn.com, if you use our offer code TechGeek, TECGEK, you get 30% off the lifetime you get 30% off your lifetime membership. That's actually a really great offer, actually. But that's our buddies over at ProXPN, and they are a VPN, cloud-based VPN solution. Like I said, especially this time of year, Christmas and all that, you should definitely be using a VPN solution. I personally use ProXPN. If you're going to be on, even if you're just using your phone to order something, you can go through a VPN, or if you're on open Wi-Fi at the Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks, you definitely should be using a VPN solution. And that's ProXPN, and on the offer code TECGEK, you get 30% off the lifetime membership. And that's our buddies over at ProXPN. So, we got a bunch of questions this week. As always, folks, you can always call our voicemail box. As always, the number 570-630-0744. Again, the phone number 570-630-0744. Or go on our website and click on the button Ask a Question. And you can actually click the Call Me button, and you can call me right through Google Voice or from your cell phone, obviously, or any landline phone with long distance anyway. As well as you can email us as well. It's all there up on the Ask a Question link. You can find all that stuff up there. And ask us. The only rule I have, folks, is no bad language. That's the only thing I ask. I want the phone calls clean because I do play them once in a while on the show. But like I said, again, phone number 570-630-0744. Go ahead and give us a call and ask any questions you have. And you can email us as well. It's all up there on the website, thetechnologygeek.org. By the way, folks, like I said, we did redo the website, so you guys should really go up there and take a look at it. We redid it a little bit. I think it looks really nice. Looks a little better than what it did before. So the first question somebody had for me was, they asked me, how do I adjust playback settings in Netflix to reduce data usage? That's actually a really good question. If you go under Account, and under Account in Netflix, actually what I'm going to do is to make sure I give you the proper information. I'm going to pull out my Netflix account right now. What you're going to do, you're going to go under your name, and you're going to click on, I believe it's under your account. And when you're under your account, you will actually see the link. And underneath there, you will be able to actually go ahead and adjust it. Now, I have mine set on auto, but you're obviously, if you're trying to worry about data, you're going to want to set it to one of the lower settings. Now, the only problem with that is if you do adjust it to one of the lower settings, obviously the picture quality is not going to be as good. So, but again, it's up to you. I mean, if you're looking to save data, you may not have much of a choice. So, but that's the only way I know how to do it anyway. But like I said, like I said, you might get pixelated video and stuff like that if you keep taking off auto. But one of the neat things is Netflix actually does auto. A lot of I believe like WWE Network and stuff like that don't do that yet. They don't have auto adjust. I know a friend of mine, he's a truck driver, and he complains all the time that when he watches WWE Network, he just burns data. So another question we had is, what are alternatives do I have for 4G internet in a rural area? You know, that's tough. You know, we live up here in Pennsylvania. We live up in the mountains. We're very fortunate enough that we do get cable. There are people right down the street from me here, a little further down my private road here, that don't get cable, and they have to use. I believe they use DSL, but some other people as well use those. They're using satellite as an option. DS. I mean, if you see, that's really tough because I mean, even satellite. If you're in a rural area with a lot of trees, that might not even work. You have satellite. I think the solution you have, one of those Wi-Fi devices, is probably going to be the best option you have. But yeah, I can't think of it. I mean, besides satellite, I can't think of it. And satellite's really slow. But like I said, I think it's maybe the only option you have. So the next question that I asked is, what VPN router should I buy? You know, that's yeah. There's so many of them nowadays. I mean, Linksys makes one, Netgear makes one. My personally, what I like to use is the Juniper. Juniper has like a $300 one. It actually does filtering. If you have kids or whatever like that, you might want to do content filtering. It does filtering. It does a really good VPN. It does a nice job. You can VPN into the router and then you search from there. It also does point-to-point VPN. So if you have, say, you have a computer at an office, or say you have a server or something in an office, you drop one of these there and then have one of these at home, and you can VPN securely to your servers and stuff like that. That's an option. A lot of companies actually do that. Where they actually provide the VPN routers, and you can actually VPN right in from home, and it's secure and all that. No problem with that. You can get in from home if you do that solution. But like I said, the Juniper. I like the Juniper ones the best. I think they work really, really well. Linksys makes one, Netgear makes one, but the Juniper one I think is the best solution, best bang for your buck, and it's proven in the marketplace. So the next question somebody asked me is, should I buy a security camera system with or without a DVR? There are a lot of them that come with DVRs. You can actually plug into the internet, and they run right on port 80. Those are really nice. I like those. A lot of people that I do work for have those. The other option you can do as well is there are a lot of cameras come with cloud-based DVRs. That's what I actually use at my house because my cameras aren't connected to a DVR. They go right up to the cloud, and this way I can view it from anywhere. The problem with that is you're using a lot of upstream bandwidth. So if you don't have a lot of upstream bandwidth, you could be burning quite a bit, especially if you're on like a MiFi or like that last guy that was on 4G. Obviously that wouldn't work for him. Obviously, because he'd be going through data like crazy, but that's an option for you as well. So I really think it depends on what you want to do. If you have 1 or 2 cameras, the cloud will be fine. If you're going to buy a system with, say, 6 or 12 cameras, you probably are going to want the DVR included. So, because obviously, 12 cameras going up to the internet would just be a lot. The last question somebody asked me, should I run IPv6 on my new web server? The problem is I think that you definitely, I would if I were you, if it's the future. I know Facebook, Google, a lot of big companies run it. You definitely could if you wanted to. But the only problem with this, I think it might be hard to, I really think it might be hard to find. There's not a lot of hosting providers out there supporting it. That's the problem. A lot of your big hosting providers will, I'm sure, probably like GoDaddy or places like that probably support it. But your smaller web hosting companies probably aren't going to support it yet. But if you do have a hosting provider that will support it, go ahead. Why not? But it actually is definitely. It is the way of the future. A lot of big companies like Google and Facebook and all that, and Amazon, I believe too, are running it. So if you can, you might as well. So that is all for the questions this week. Like I said, as always, if you want to drop us a question, go to our website, click on ask this question, email me, or as always, you can use the phone number. Again, 570-630-0744. And you can use that number, by the way, to call me and leave a message for me anytime. By the way, I check it every day. And, like I said, you can use that number, not even just for a question, but just to call and tell me if you like the show, what you want me to talk about, suggestions, comment, anything. That's the main number for everything we do. It's our main voicemail box. So, and by the way, folks, I want to emphasize that it is a voicemail box. If you call that number right this moment when you listen to this, I'm not going to go, hey, you're on the air. It's not going to work that way. It's a podcast. I don't do it. I am working on doing it live. There's a live link on our new website, and we are going to be doing a live show, but we're not there yet. But I want to thank everybody for listening, as always. I just want to say, don't forget about our last sponsor, Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/techgeek, TECHGEEK, and get one free download of any book that you'd like. Like I said, you sign up for an account, give your credit card, and download the one free book. You can, if you don't like the service, cancel it. It won't be charged a credit card. You get it for 30 days free, and you can keep the book. So again, that's audibletrial.com/techgeek. And like I said, if you like to read books like I do, it really is a wonderful service, and it definitely is worth the few dollars a month that you actually pay. So again, that's audibletrial.com/techgeek. And like I said, if you don't like it, cancel, and you still get to keep the book, and this way we get the credit for it. Let's also, too, folks, I want to say one thing, too, as well on the new website. You see we do have another sponsor, amateurradiosupplies.com. I know I'm a ham radio operator. I talk about it a lot on this show. The last podcast, as bad as the audio was, we actually were talking about audio quality in ham radio. So you can actually, like I said, amateurradiosupply.com. If you use our link, we get the credit for it. We'd appreciate that. It helps pay for the server, the bandwidth, stuff like that. Like I said, folks, I don't pull a paycheck from this. I never have. I just use the money to support the site. As well, you can also do, there's a link on there, shop in Amazon to support our show. You can actually, if you click through on there and order a few things on Amazon, we get a few bucks for it. We'd appreciate that. As well as our donation link is up at the top. We always appreciate the donations, and that's really where we make the majority of our money that keeps the site and the website going, is through the donations. So I want to thank everybody for the donations. And if even you only donate a buck, it helps keep the server going. It helps keep the bandwidth up and going. And as well, folks, we do have a link up there to our eBay store where I throw a couple things up there for sale. So go ahead and click on our store link, and if you see anything on there you might like to sell, you might like to buy, we'd be very appreciative of that, because like I said, it does keep the site going, and it's our eBay store. We sell parts and a lot of other things here, and not a lot of junk. I don't like to sell junk on eBay. I like to sell good stuff, so we do have good stuff up there. So I want to thank everybody for listening, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much.